as hobby, what I believe is that you need to be very sure about what you're doing in terms of, what kind of things that you're making, and you should be very thorough with it. The reason being is, even if you're doing it out of hobby, you should be satisfied with the kind of products that you make, right? So that's why I believe that you should know all the tips and advices of candle making and wax sachet very well before starting. So I'll give you a few tips, then we'll move on to the theory part, then we'll have a question answer round, and then we have a super amazing surprise at the end, which Tanya will be telling you about at the end of the workshop. Okay, so first thing is that whenever we talk about wax sachet or candle making, एक पहली चीज है जो हमें याद रखनी है, and that is wax, right? Because wax is the basic product that is used for candle making, and that is the very first product that is being used. Wax now can be of any type that you want. It can be paraffin wax, it can be soy wax, it can be beeswax. कोई भी wax हो सकता है. बट अगर आप मुझे पर्सनली पूछो कि मुझे कौन सा वैक्स सबसे ज्यादा मैं प्रेफर करती हूँ, then that is soy wax. Now the reason why is because soy wax is basically like that one friend in the group who is very friendly, very interactive, and blends with anything and everything. Yeah. So if ever you have any kind of product that you're making out of soy wax, then it's going to be amazing, because soy wax has the capability to absorb smell and the capability to absorb color. Okay. The next thing is the smells. Okay. So basically, we are making these products to get a good smell. So now, whenever we talk about smells, there are two types of smell. It's essential oil and fragrance oil. Smell ऐसे नहीं आती, right? तो उनको oils डालना पड़ता है to get that smell. So there are two types, that is essential oil and fragrance oil. There is a very basic difference, but it's very, very important. And that is that you need to remember कि जो fragrance oil है, वो हमें सिर्फ fragrance देता है. Okay. On the other hand, the essential oil that we use not only gives us the fragrance, but it also benefits us in some ways. For example, lavender. So let's take an example कि मैं lavender essential oil में product में use कर रही हूँ. That means that I'm using lavender fragrance plus the benefits, because lavender is very good for migraine. It's very good to soothe your mind, and it's very good for meditational activities. So the essential oil is going to help me in all these things plus the fragrance. Okay. Now, the next thing is that I get this question a lot from a lot of people, that should we be using aluminium mold or silicone mold for candle making? So honestly speaking, aluminium mold has been used since ages by people to make candles, and it has been amazing. It's just that आपको उसको grease करना पड़ता है. So like you need to use some kind of oil like coconut oil or almond oil to grease it from the inside, so that whenever you put your candle, you can take it out very easily. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult with aluminium mold, because it kind of जकड़ जाता है aluminium mold when you put your wax. On the other hand, you don't have to do anything for silicone mold, because silicone mold से आप easily उसको demold कर सकते हो, since it's rubber material. Yeah. And now, this is basically about the candle making part. I'll tell you a little bit about wax sachets, because it's a pretty new concept to the most of us. Not everybody is familiar with what are wax sachets. So wax sachets are basically like mini air fresheners. ठीक है, हम जब बाहर जाते हैं, हम एयर फ्रेशनर्स लाते हैं, वी सी दैट दे आर नेवर ऑफ दैट स्मेल दैट वी लाइक. भले ही वो जैस्मिन बोलो, रोज बोलो, लेवेंडर बोलो, बट वो एग्जैक्ट स्मेल का कभी नहीं होता है. So these wax sachets are completely authentic in terms of smell, in terms of the color that you want, and in terms of how you want it to look. It's just that wax sachets are used in smaller places. Like it's used in washrooms, drawers, shoe racks, cupboards, cars. ऐसी जगह पर ही wax sachets use होता है. If at all you want to use it in a bigger room, if you want to use it in your room or your drawing room, then you can use about 2 to 3 wax sachets parallel, so that the smell can spread out throughout the room equally. Yeah, so this is about the wax sachets. Now, I'm not going to bore you with any kind of theory. It's a Sunday morning. I know it will be very boring. So we'll move on to the practical work, and I'll show you how these products are made in real. After that, we'll have question answer round. Just one request to everyone, do not unmute yourself and ask something at that moment, because क्या हो जाता है कि अगर मैं कुछ बोल रही हूँ तो मेरी भी link टूट जाएगी और आपकी समझने की भी link टूट जाएगी. So just put all the questions that you have in the chat box, and I'll take them at the end of the workshop. Okay, so just give me 2 minutes. I'll switch to my workplace, and then we'll start with the practical. Okay, is my screen visible, Tanya?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so what you can see right here now is a wax sachet mold. Wax sachet mold is basically the mold in which you make those wax sachets. And this right here, what you can see is for you to make an inbuilt hole inside the wax sachet so that whenever you demold this wax sachet, you will get in hole automatically so that you can put your jute cord, ribbon, or elastic, anything that you want through this hole so that you can hang it wherever you want to around the place. Okay, this is the purpose of this hole in the mold. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to take our melted wax and we are going to pour it into this. Now, starting off with very A, this is what your raw wax will look like. Okay, this is what it will look like. It looks like rice या तो पोहा जो होता है वैसे भी दिखता है ये. So this is the raw wax and now we are going to melt it, which is going to look like this. So your melted wax has to look like this, which is in completely liquid form and it's completely like water. Now remember one thing, that whenever you are melting your wax, there are three methods that you can use to melt your wax. One is double boiling method, second is your direct method, and third is your induction. Never ever use microwave for melting of any kind of wax. It is not safe for you and the wax. Okay, so any of these three methods can be used. Today I have used the induction method. The next step that you have to do is take any kind of paper cup with you and pour your melted wax into the paper cup. Now remember that for one wax, that is for one wax sachet, you need 40 grams of wax. For the people who are noting this down, kindly note it down so that this information stays with you. For one wax sachet, you need 40 grams of wax. So you have to measure your 40 grams of wax and you have to pour it in a paper cup. Now, after you have poured the melted wax into your paper cup, you need to add a little bit of color. Now, when I say color, remember that you have to use only candle making color. You cannot use food making color or soap making color or wax crayons. ये सब चीजें नहीं use कर सकते हो. You have to use candle making color only. And if you're using the candle making color, you have to use 1 gram of candle making color in 40 grams of wax. Okay. Again, I'm repeating for the people who are noting it down. For one wax sachet, you need 40 grams of wax and 1 gram of color. If you're using liquid color, that is, agar drops mein aap use kar rahe ho, then you have to use 20 drops of color. Okay. After you have mixed your color like this, you can use any kind of wooden stick or any kind of, if you can also use steel. It's just that kabhi kabhi steel pe ya wax lag jata hai and it becomes very difficult for you to scrub it off. That's why I would recommend you to use wooden stick so that it becomes easier for you to clean. Now, the next thing that I'm going to use is my essential oil. I'm going to be using vanilla essential oil today. I'll give you all the brands like the Wax Sachet brand, the Wax brand, the Color brand, and the Essential brands. Everything I'll give you, but at the end of the workshop. Okay, so I'll be providing with the brand, so don't worry about that. Now I'm going to be using 2 ml of essential oil for my 40 grams of wax. Again, note it down if you want to. You have to use 2 ml of essential or fragrance oil for your 40 grams of wax. And here I have used this pipette in order to pour the oil, because if at all you want to use, if you don't want to use this pipette, you can also use a dropper. But it's very necessary to use that because you need to know the amount of oil that you're putting. Otherwise, agar measurement wrong gaya, you won't be able to get the exact smell and it will be a little bit of problem for you. Okay. So after that, you have to mix your oil very nicely with your wax like this so that it blends very well. And now your mixture is ready to be poured into the mold like this. So you have to pour your mixture like this into your mold very nicely and very smoothly so that it doesn't move at all. You have to keep this product out for 55 minutes. Do not keep it in the freezer or the fridge. Keep it outside in the natural temperature and let it set for 55 minutes. After 55 minutes, you can demold your product very easily. Okay. The next thing is that since we will not be together for 55 minutes for each product to set, so I have the final products in the same shade for you all to see so that you know how it looks at the end. Okay, now we are going to move on to the next product, and that is the Tealight candle. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah. Start putting all the questions that you have in the chat box so that we can
Ma'am, your
take them
video
later.
is off. Your video is off.
Yeah, yeah. Just give me 2 minutes. I'm getting the other product.
So guys, if you have any doubt till now, you can quickly drop up in the chat box. So ma'am will be addressing all the doubts is at this particular. Ma'am, temperature for melting.
Yeah, put it in the chat box. I'll take the questions later so that everybody will be able to, understand the question. If anybody has similar doubts, they also will be able to clear it. Yeah. So the next thing that we are going to be making is a tea light candle. Now, what is a tea light candle? Basically, everyone must have seen these candles, ghar mein. They are very small. They are used in Diwali. It's just that those candles are very simple and they are very, very, they're very, very. Just give me a second. Yeah. So as I was saying that these are very, very small candles that you use in Diwali or other functions at your place. It's just that here we are going to make it a little fancy because since the products that we are making today are something that has sold in the market recently and people are buying it a lot. So this is the acrylic mold that we use to make this tea light candle. Now there are two ways that how you can use this mold. A is that you can make the candle in this mold itself and you can lit the candle in that, or you can B is that you can make the candle in this, use it as a mold, pop the candle and keep it separately. That's what I prefer doing. I use this as a mold and not as the candle itself. Okay, so now what we are going to do is, a, you need to understand that we are going to be taking a wick in order to make this candle. Now what is a wick? Wick is basically the part which we lit in the candle. Wick के वजह से ही candle lit होती है, right? And this is a sustainer. What is a sustainer? Sustainer is one that sustains the wick. So it helps your wick to stand straight inside the candle like this. If it just this, बहुत difficult हो जाता है for candle to settle, right? So we need the sustainer for the candle to stay straight. But what happens is when we pour our melted wax, जब हम अपना melted wax डालते हैं ना, तब ये wick ऐसे shift हो जाती है. So we need a metal wick holder which looks like this in order to straighten the wick inside the candle. But we'll do that after we have put our melted wax. So now you will take your melted wax, add your color and fragrance like we did for the wax sachet in the same method, and you will pour it inside the mold like this. Now you will place your wick inside that. You will place your wick holder and you will just let it stay inside the wick like this. Okay, so now what happens is that your candle will stay straight inside the your wick will stay straight inside the candle without moving, and you will not face any issues while you're lighting the candle. Okay, you have to keep this product as well for 55 minutes for it to set, and do not take it out before 55 minutes, otherwise the product will not set and you will not get a good product. Okay, now we'll move on to the next product, and that is a demolded candle. For a demolded candle you need a silicone mold. If for the people who are into baking or are into candle making in general, you will be able to get these mold. Otherwise, for the people who do not have these molds is also fine. It's not a problem. It's just that sometimes it becomes a problem for क्या हो जाता है, silicone mold अगर आप use नहीं कर रहे हो for a demolded candle, then it becomes difficult for you to demold it. And especially for beginners, I would recommend you to go for silicone mold only. Do not go for aluminium mold for now. Do not switch to that. Go for silicone mold if you're doing it for the very first time. Now what you have to do is remember one thing, that what we did right now for the tea light candle is we placed our wick like this and then we poured our wax. You cannot do that. The reason being is ये हमारा जो कैंडल का है वो बेस है and this is the top of our candle, right? So if we want this look, we have to put the mold, we have to put the wick inside the mold and through it so that we can take out from here. For that, what you have to do is आपको एक छोटा सा hole बनाना है in your silicone mold, which looks like this. Yeah, a very small mold which look like this, and you have to put your wick through that hole. Now the wick need not have a sustainer compulsorily. It's not compulsory कि आपका wick को sustainer होना ही चाहिए, because we are not trying to help that wick stay straight. So it's okay if your wick doesn't have a sustainer. So here I'm going to use that kind of wick, and I'm going to put my wick through the hole very carefully. Give me a second. Yeah, like this. You have to try to push it from the other end and you have to take it out. Like this. Okay. And now you have to keep the wick straight inside your mold, and you have to take your melted wax, add color and add fragrance. It's not compulsory to add fragrance. If you want, you can make an unscented candle as well, and just pour your mixture inside the mold like this. Now remember one thing, in this one, you have to put your wick inside the candle. So with the help of a wooden stick or anything else, you can just push your wick inside the mold so that whenever you are demolding the candle, the wick will not be a problem and you'll get a straight surface. Okay, so this is how you'll make your demolded candle. Again, let this sit for 55 minutes also, and only then demold your candle. Yeah. Now I'll show you how all the products look like at the end. Okay, so just give me a second. Okay, this is how your wax sachets will look like. Again, as I said, this is the hole that I was talking about for you to put your elastic, jute cord, whatever you want through this. This is what your wax sachets will look like. Your tea light candles, this is what they will look like. If you want a darker shade, you can put a little bit of more color. If you want a lighter shade, then you can put a little bit of less color. Always remember this, how this is how you grade your shades, in case ever if you want to make, like, if you don't want to buy different shades of the color. The last one are these demolded candles, and this is how they will look like. Always remember, tea light candles are given in a set. You cannot give one individual tea light candle. You have to give a set of 2, 4, 8 or anything like that, but never give one individual tea light candle. Okay, I know this looks like a little bit of haldi function, but since we were doing in that shade, I wanted you all to see how all the products look like in that particular shade. Okay, so this is what you have learned for the day: wax sachets, your tea light candles, and your demolded silicone mold candles. Now I'll take all the questions that you have one by one from the chat box. Tanya, do you have anything to say?
Sorry, your voice break.
Yeah, do you have anything to say, Tanya?
No, not yet. Let me just have the Q&A round. You can ask all the questions. Then we will be coming up on the surprises and other things.
Okay, I'll take the questions, Tanya. Don't worry, I'll read it out.
Sure, sure.
Thank you. Yeah. So which brand is good for essential oil and fragrance oil? So I'll be giving you all the brands in the chat box at the end of the workshop. Be it soy wax brand or the essential oils, the color, everything I will be providing you, including the mold. Don't worry about that. Hey, I'm a beginner in this. Can you spell the type of wax you mentioned? Yes. Soy wax. So I'll write it down in the chat box. Yeah. Yeah. So which brand wax? Again, as I said, I'll be mentioning it at the end of the class. Okay. Can paraffin wax be used for making lip balms? So honestly, no, you cannot use paraffin wax for lip balms. It's not safe for your lips. What is the difference between paraffin wax, soy wax, and beeswax? Okay, so all these waxes are solid waxes only, unlike the gel wax. It's just that paraffin wax, soy wax, and beeswax, both of them, soy wax and beeswax, are vegetable waxes, whereas paraffin wax is not. And paraffin wax has a very strong build, whereas soy wax and beeswax are little fragile in terms of making a standalone candle. Okay, so this is the basic difference. Otherwise, paraffin and soy wax are pretty, they are the ones that are used the most. And soy wax is a little more expensive than paraffin because, again, as I said, the color absorbency and smell absorbency of soy wax is much better than that of paraffin. Yeah. Uh, okay. Which type of mold are you using? I'm using silicone mold for the demolded candle, and for the wax sachet, I've used the wax sachet making mold, which I'll be giving you the brand of. Yeah. Will the recording of this session will be shared with us? I don't know. Tanya will be able to tell you this.
Sorry,
Tanya,
guys, like this is just a demo class, so we do not have any recordings for the demo classes. But like once we will be coming up on the end of the session now, we are having some amazing surprises and the master classes for everyone.